again, my friends. Lori Ashcraft here. I'm your host for Viva La Evolution, which is produced by Recovery and Resilience Solutions, a training and consulting branch of Crestwood Behavioral Health. So just welcoming you here again. And last week we had Chris and Jim talking about the whole Peer Employment Learning Center. I hope you got a chance to see that. It's just such an exciting project, and really goes where I think, in my experience, I haven't seen anyone have the courage to do what we're doing with this project. And it's working. So it's very exciting. Now, today, what we're going to do is we're going to watch a pre-recorded interview that I did a couple months ago with Robyn Gross. And she's the administrator of the San Diego Crestwood Campus. And this is where the very first site in the pilot took place. And it started, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And so now we've got a year and a half under our belts with that project. And it's just been remarkable. And I think the most remarkable thing about it, again, is working with folks who are on conservatorship. And I don't have to tell you, if you don't know what that means, I'll just say, being on conservatorship means that you've been deemed to be unable to take care of yourself, dangerous to yourself and others, and gravely disabled. So the law takes over your life and takes all your rights away because they think you can't do anything. Well, those are the exact people that we're training to be peer support specialists and putting them through 100 hours. Well, the class itself is 80 hours. Then putting them through a 100-hour internship and then having them go to work. It's just amazing. So today, Chris and Jim kind of laid out the structure of the program and the ideas behind the program. Robyn is the person on the ground actually doing it in the first site. So she was the first administrator to say, I'll do it. I'll try this out. And, that in and of itself, I'm finding is more amazing than you might think. So many people anymore aren't willing to go beyond what they're doing to try something new. They're just happy to stay doing what they're doing. And they miss so many opportunities by not being willing to take those risks to try new things. And you'll hear Robyn say, it was presented to us and we said, okay, let's do it. So pay attention to that moment in the recording. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is when she talks about graduation. Graduation is a magical event. And here's why, I think. Because we go through all this training, we train the staff, we train all the staff, we train the leaders, then we train the peers. Then they go through their internship and then they do graduation. So graduation is the point where all of this comes together. The families are there, the staff are there, and they're seeing the fruits of their labor. And I'll tell you, no one is let down. This is where, I've probably been to 500 graduations because I told you I'm pretty old, so I've had a lot of time to do all this stuff. So I've been that's probably being a conservative, but let's just put it out there, 500. Here's what people usually say. The families will say, because they stand up and talk, the families say, I got my son back. Or I haven't seen my daughter this well in years. Little kids will get up and say, "My mom is happy now." I mean, that's what I mean. It's a magical event. So it's kind of that point in time where everything comes together and you get what you did worked. So listen to her describe that a little bit. I want to tell you, let me just say, look at my notes here. Keep in mind that this was with some stalled stuff with the pandemic, and they got through that in great shape. And then she mentions lessons learned, and I brought that up last week too. And I think Jim said he's going to put it on the RRS website so you can see it. They're actually, the list continues to get longer all the time. I think it's up to 3 pages now because we just keep learning more things and we're writing it down each time. So when we go to our next site, or if other people are doing something like this, we can share it with them and help them. So I'm going to remind Jim to put that on our website because I think you would find that really helpful. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to tell you to look out for. All right, so with no further ado, let's see what Robyn has to say. And after we're through with Robyn, I'm going to wind us up today by telling you something that I'm pretty sure no one else has ever told you. Unless you've read it in one of my books somewhere, I've never heard anyone bring this up. And it's really, really, really important. So after we hear Robyn, I'm going to tell you this important stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's listen to Robyn. So, Robyn, it is such a delight to get a few minutes of your time and chat with you a little bit about the Peer Employment Learning Center and the important role you've played in that. And I just want to say that I'm going to speak for the whole PELC team, how much we appreciate you as the first administrator, the first campus, Crestwood Campus, to have the courage to take this project on. Because there's no way you can know what you're getting into. You were willing to step into it, and you've been so amazing in leading this effort and supporting it and sustaining it. So I'm just so grateful that you've had the time to sit down and tell us a little bit what that was like. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori.
Oh, yeah. So maybe let's just start with when you were first approached about the idea of being a place. Let me just explain PELC just for a minute. I mean, we go around saying PELC, 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 and we forget that people don't know what that means. Peer Employment Learning Center. And the idea of the Peer Employment Learning Center is that a site, in this case a Crestwood campus, would agree to take it on as a project which means that some of your residents, participants, people, would, instead of going through the regular training, would go through peer employment training and an internship and get hired as a peer, which is kind of unthinkable in a locked facility where everyone's on conservatorship. I mean, who does something like that?
We do.
Yes. So that being just so you know, that's the deal here. What were your first thoughts when you were approached with possibility?
Well, honestly, when I go back, it was presented to us as a pilot. We want to pilot this new program, PELC, Pure Employment Learning Center. And to be honest, I don't know if I knew the whole picture, all that it entailed.
Yeah.
But I've always been the kind of person like, let's give it a try. Let's learn. And here's folks from Crestwood Corporate. They always have genius ideas. Let's give this a go at our campus. So we said, sure. What we were told, we had a big meeting to plan for it. And what we were told is it would involve a lot of training at our campus for our employees, myself included, so that we could get ready. Get ready for what? Get ready for peers in the workplace. We're thinking we already had peers in the workplace. No, we don't. We have people, employees who have their own lived experience, but we
Yes.
did not have the peer support specialist
Yeah.
in that role. So we had to get our campus ready. We had to become more recovery focused and oriented to be ready. So I knew it would involve a lot of training, um, and then training the residents to become peer support specialists. And that's kind of all I knew.
Well, let me just back you up
Sure.
a little bit. So there was a price to pay in having your whole campus trained. It meant taking people offline for training, scheduling all that. So it wasn't just come and fix me
Right.
kind of thing. It was you had to figure out how to get along business as usual while
Yeah.
those people were in training.
True.
So that was a big step. And let me just back up even further. We have watched, and then ourselves have made several mistakes this way, of organizations training and hiring peers into programs that weren't prepared for them. So the staff are left thinking, who are these people? What do they do? And in some cases, are they going to take my job? Which is a big threat. Not knowing how to work with them, and then it not being a peer-friendly organization. So learning from our own mistakes and seeing other places make that mistake repeatedly, we thought the best approach here is to train everybody in this, in what's going to happen and how to do recovery, so that when we do hire the peers, it'll be sustainable.
Right. So in that initial planning meeting, that's what I was told. We're going to train your leadership team extensively.
Yeah.
We're going to provide trainings to some of your key staff extensively. And we're going to train every single member of your workforce, not extensively, but they're going to receive recovery for organizations training. And I do remember my initial thought of like, oh my goodness, that is going to take a lot of coordination, a lot of staff coverage, and yes, it's going to cost some money. So in that moment, did I have some apprehension? Did I have some worries? Sure, I did. But we kept the faith, and we know Crestwood's never guided us in the wrong direction. So we went for it, and we jumped right in.
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did. We were all standing by going, all right. We love this woman.
Well, and I can tell you after, now, I mean, this all started, in 2019 when we had that initial planning meeting.
Yeah.
We had our first PELC graduation, our first full graduation of our residents who received the PSL training to become peer support specialists and the internship. The first graduation occurred, I think it was right around the end of 2021 or maybe the beginning of 2022.
How did I'm not good at dates. How did the pandemic was this right after the pandemic?
We were supposed
less?
to implement it right before the pandemic
Okay.
hit, so we postponed.
Okay.
And we waited a little bit, and then we decided we're going to just go for it.
And that was like a couple of years later, or a year later, maybe?
Yes, yeah. So we had a graduating class in very early 2022, and then here it is, May 6th, 2023, and our second graduate class just occurred yesterday.
Wow.
So looking back, now I can really speak much more thoughtfully about the whole project. I had my initial worries, but now looking back, I am filled with just nothing but the honor and pride I feel in being able to have this at our campus.
Yeah. Well, you had a graduation here just yesterday. How moving was that? I mean, when you sit through a graduation, you know you did the right thing no matter what it cost. It was just amazing.
It is. It's very moving, it's very touching moment to see the families and the graduates share their stories. And I do believe that if any other Crestwood program or any other program is thinking about doing this, they should attend a graduation.
I know.
Because you really get to see the transformation that these wonderful human beings go through as they receive this training and receive this new purpose. If anyone is like me, you're in this field because you want to help people.
Right.
You want to help them feel a little better, do a little better, find meaning, find purpose, suffer less, right? And that's what being a part of the PELC project has done for the participants. They now have a meaningful role. If you ask them, what do you do? A lot of them, what do you do? What do you do? We're all, you talk about your job. So now they can say, I'm a peer support specialist.
Yeah.
And it gives such incredible meaning because they're now helping other people
Yes.
get through their recovery
That's the
journey.
key. The minute you can start helping someone else, then your recovery
Right.
skyrockets.
Right. And then the impact on our workforce.
I
If
was
you need
gonna
another,
ask you that.
if you need another reason to do this, it changes people. It changes your employees. I sat in this graduation yesterday and watched employees tearing up. They're so moved. They're so touched by the progress that their folks have accomplished, and their change through the training opportunities they received, their change through the culture shift at the program, becoming more compassionate, more human, more humble, more recovery oriented, more mutual. It's a wonderful thing to bring to your campus.
Oh, really?
So you really see, if you're looking at cost benefit, yes, it's a lot of training, a lot of time, but you really get to see the end product.
And I think you're speaking to something larger here. I think you're speaking to a culture shift.
Yeah.
Can you pin that down? I mean, culture is so amorphous.
Yeah.
How,
But like, okay, so for example, if you're in a program, I don't want to say that I ever was, but maybe, I don't know, where it was acceptable at one point to be curt or, not as loving as we'd like to be to a resident. After you go through all these recovery-oriented trainings, that is no longer going to be acceptable.
not an option.
It's not an option. You will stick out like a sore thumb, and all of your coworkers are going to say, you can't talk to people that way. Because the culture shifts to one of it's just a higher calling
Yes.
and a more compassionate way of being.
I remember at your first graduation, we talked with some of your staff, and we even have it on videotape, asking them what it was like to go through this. And it was very moving to hear what they had to say.
Yeah, you just have to kind of trust the process a little bit. I know in the very beginning, I was told that myself and my key leadership team were going to be attending a 2-week training. 2-week training.
Yes.
It's a long time to leave the campus without key leadership. I was
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? But you just, you do it. You trust the people that you employ, and you receive this gift that is the training, and it will change your life.
It kind of does, doesn't it? It's maybe it's that simple. That's when we're talking about a culture shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go deep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many people graduated? How many people started the training, then graduated, and then went to work?
The first round, we had 18 graduates, and we had 10 of those 18 continue to work as a peer support specialist in a paid position.
Okay.
The second round just happened yesterday, but we had 6 graduates, and all 6 are currently paid peer support specialists under Dreamcatchers.
Oh, okay. Let's go back because we forgot to talk about the internship.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like?
So the internship is fabulous. The internship is
100 hours, do I remember?
Over 100 hours
Okay.
in which the peer support specialist interns, so they've learned 2 weeks of that invaluable training material from the course, the PSL course, peer support learning course. Then let's have them practice. Let's help them actually deliver and utilize the skills they just learned. So they are paired up with a mentor who's also been well trained. And
I saw the little mentor handbook earlier today.
yeah,
So they're not just trained, but there's a continual way of reinforcing that role.
right. There's a lot of follow-up and support ongoing to make sure everyone has support. So in an internship, the intern has an assigned mentor who is there with them every step of the way to help them with their service delivery, to help coach them or support them if they, ever have a question or a need. This internship is paid, so it's paid.
Isn't that great?
So
Do you remember what they get paid?
well, Minimum wage is now $16.30 in San Diego. That happened January 1st.
Yeah.
So suppose that's what the going rate would be.
Yeah.
So not bad.
No. Here's usually a kicker with that. What about, with the whole issue of jeopardizing SSI, did that come up?
We did a lot of counseling and coaching with our residents and speaking with their payees to make sure that the internship's temporary, and it's also usually capped at around 7 paid hours a week. So we
Okay.
keep the income
Okay, so that kept them
low
under
enough
the
that
SSI
right that
issue.
they're not going to have their SSI put in jeopardy at all.
Yeah.
At all.
I know, the folks that you see here have been disappointed and let down by the system repeatedly and then blamed for it. In other words, what's been available to them in the community didn't work for them. So they were basically untreated
Yeah.
in an effective way. Then they were called uncooperative, treatment resistant, all those names. Then they end up here, and I think most people have lost hope in them by that point. So the fact that they could complete the training
Right.
and over 100 hours of internship
Right.
and then go to work is more than the average miracle.
Yeah.
It's a real big one.
It's very doable.
Yeah.
It's very achievable. And we're bringing it to hopefully many more campuses. We'd like to have round 3 at our campus again.
Oh, good.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I already have people wanting to sign up.
Oh,
Residents want to
great.
sign up.
Great.
Absolutely.
I saw a difference in the mentors yesterday. And the mentors from the first group, they seemed like, they were committed and did their job. But I didn't see the kind of tears and hugs and all that stuff that went on yesterday. I think that's just a natural evolutionary step in the process. Like in the first round, you're still learning,
Sure.
and you don't even know if there's going to be an outcome. Yeah. But by the second one, there's an outcome you can count on. So
They've
you
seen
can get more invested in it.
Right. They've seen the fruits of their labor from the
Yes.
first round. So now I think the investment and the buy-in is so much more. And with the first time we learned a lot. We fumbled through it, like anyone would.
Sure.
It was brand new. It was the first pilot. Yes, we had mentors, but probably not enough.
Oh, is that it?
We probably
Okay.
didn't have enough. This time we got smarter, and we had each intern had their own one assigned mentor, one-on-one. So instead of having one mentor for residents, we decided to pair them up one-on-one so they could have more focused attention and support.
I want to ask you about morale, because what I see often, and not just in Crestwood, but kind of across the board, is professionals go to school, they pay a lot of money to get their degrees or their training, whatever it is, and then they come to work, and pretty soon they stop believing that they can make a difference because the people they're working with don't change that much. But that's because they're not doing the right treatment. If they were doing the right treatment, people would get better and then they'd feel better about their work.
Right.
But what I'm seeing with this peer support training is when they see peers actually get better as a result of what they do, then there's often a morale boost. Did you see anything like that in your programs?
Yes, in a major way.
Really? Okay.
Because it is a big part of that is seeing your folks that we serve day in, day out get better.
Yes.
It's those moments, yes, those that progress, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's just seeing somebody develop meaning in their life, purpose,
yes.
joy, being able to do more, give back, have a potential career direction now.
Yeah.
And then you bring in their families, their loved ones.
Oh my
and then
gosh,
you get to
that's
hear from them.
Incredible, yes.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
It all really contributes.
I always cry when families talk.
Me too. I can't help myself. But that's where you really see our staff just the shift in knowing in their hearts the work I'm doing is really changing lives.
Yes.
And changing families.
Yes. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, Robyn. We've talked about the training, preparing the culture. We've talked about the training for peers, the internship, the outcomes more or less. Have we left out? Oh, one thing I'm remembering, we started keeping track of lessons learned. And I started off this list, and it kept getting longer and longer, and it got to 2 pages of the things we were learning. That was so invaluable for the next site.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time we do this from here on out, it's going to be easier because we have learned from
Yes.
from our rollout. So
Yes. Yeah.
we know how to do it a little bit better next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add that we haven't talked about?
No, I just am very grateful for the opportunity to have this at our campus, and I hope whoever's watching this, bring it to your campus. You will not regret it.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everything you do. It's just a pleasure knowing you and seeing some of your work and celebrating your accomplishments.
Thank you, Lori. Right back at you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I told you were going to like this. Yeah. You can talk about stuff all day, but until you hear someone who's put it into action, you kind of don't. Something's missing until you hear that story. And Robyn does such a good job on that story. And just to remind you, she's the first of 5 sites in the pilot site. The next site is Bakersfield, and they've had amazing results too. And the next one is Eureka. So we're going way up north for that. Our program evaluations folks from Rutgers are going up and down the state, getting all the pre and post and whatever they do, how researchers are. And they're lovely. They have done such a wonderful job. We couldn't have had a better research project, people helping us. But now I want to tell you this thing that I told you, no one else has probably ever told you. And I'm just going to touch on it right now. And in another episode, we'll go deep on this because it's very important. And I think I can help a lot with this by kind of drilling this into all of us. Okay, so here's what it is. So we have these projects. You just heard Robyn talk about, the kind of the high and the excitement and the graduation and everything. By the way, she's now on her beginning to start her 3rd round of peer training. So lots still going on there. Probably will continue to go on. Problems to solve, but everything's still moving in the right direction. Here's what I want to tell you. When you start something new, there's a lot of excitement around it and energy. And you're solving problems and you're getting things moving and everyone's working together because everybody wants it to all turn out. There's always some people that aren't quite on board yet, but they'll get on board. And there's energy in all of that. And then it happens and it's like, oh my gosh, this is even better than we thought. And this excitement continues. And then at about somewhere between, well, it's different for everybody. So I'm not going to say a timeline, but there's a point at which, so it's kind of like this. It kind of goes like building, 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 up, up. Things are going great. Okay, now we can hold it at that level and we're going to go across. We're going to keep things at this level. But here's what I want to tell you. Things don't stay at that level by themselves. They start to go down because nothing stands still. This is a little bit like the Zen thing of impermanence. Everything goes away or falls apart or however you want to say it. I used to use the word entropy for this, but it has so many meanings that I kind of gave up on it. It's not complacency. But there's some of that in there. It's a little bit like drift. When I say drift, mission drift, where you're all going along pretty good and you've got everything together, and then you start drifting. It's a little bit like that, but there's more profound than that. And basically what it is nothing stands still. And once you put something in place, it won't stay there. unless you continually nurture it. And here's the key to it. The key has to do with creativity. So, and it will show itself to you if you pay attention. So as things are moving along and you start to feel that drag, like, now why am I doing this? Well, this is just extra work. It'd be more convenient if we took some shortcuts, blah, 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 all those things. So when you start to get that feeling, or you see other people getting that feeling, that's when you have to open the door to creativity. Creativity is what will take you to the next level. The idea is not to stay on that level, but to rise to the next level. Because, and that's, it's kind of your obligation. You had the privilege of taking something this far. And now don't let it fall apart. Don't let it drift down into something ordinary, but take it up a step. And this is where you have to be creative. There's so much energy and creativity. If you can just pay attention, who wants to do the next thing? What's the next good idea? How can we make this better? How can we fix that? How can we get more partners? Whatever it is, pay attention, because if you don't, you're going to lose ground. And then in 5 years, people will say, remember when they used to do that blah, blah, blah thing? Yeah, whatever happened to that? Oh, I don't know, it just came and went. So when you've got a sunk cost here in it, you've got a lot into this. You've got your energy, your time, your brains, and your heart into it. So it's time to now take care of it, which is a shift. You're going from growing to taking care of and building. So again, that's just a little piece of a big topic, but I thought it was important to bring it up here because we're talking about this new stuff, this Peer Employment Learning Center. And part of us paying attention to lessons learned is to not let that happen. It's not happening yet. It's too early. So we don't have to, we got to think about it, but we won't see it for a while. But it'll start. It's inevitable. No one can escape this. And the only way to do it is to let it guide you to your next step so you can hold that ground and take it even higher. Okay, well, that was a big speech. I hope you stayed awake for it. Okay, my dears, I'm going to sign off now, and I'll see you next time. Love you. Thanks for joining me.